Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining me on this Thursday morning. This solution spotlight for the month of February is on the topic of advanced search. Is OnBase advanced search for you? Again, thank you for joining me. My name is Guy Schrader. I'm Manager of Sales Engineering here with Navient. I will be your sole presenter for this webinar. And just typical housekeeping instructions, everybody on the GoToWebinar, your voice is muted to keep down the distractions during the webinar. So if you do wish to communicate with me, feel free to use the chat box that appears in the GoToWebinar panel. Typically that appears on the right side of your screen. Ask any questions along the way. We'll take a few moments at the end of this webinar to answer any questions that you might have. And also at the conclusion of the webinar, when you actually close out of the GoToWebinar, you'll be prompted with a survey. I do encourage you to take a few moments to answer the questions within that survey. Give us suggestions for future topics. How can we help to service you better in the future through this Solution Spotlight series? So without any further ado, our agenda today is on advanced search. In other words, the actual OnBase product that we're going to be talking about is full text indexing server for Autonomy IDOL. And as usual, we'll go through and talk about what the problem might be. We'll go through an overview of what the actual product is and what it does, go through a quick demonstration, talk about the cost of the module, why you should consider it, and also how you can go ahead and get that module. So I do want to cover one thing before we get too much further. What's in a name? As I mentioned just a moment ago, the actual product name inside the OnBase suite is Full Text Indexing Server for Autonomy IDOL. If I took this away, I bet you none of you guys could actually tell me which module that we're talking about, because it is very, very wordy. For simplicity, let's just call this Full Text Search. You can pretty much say that throughout the rest of the Navient and OnBase community, and everybody is pretty much going to know what you're talking about. So let's just simplify things and call it full text search as we go forward. So let's just highlight what the problem is here. Today, your OnBase system, you have document types set up. In each of those document types, you have keywords associated with them, right? And that's relatively simple to work with, right? To find a document, you're going to select the document type, or you might use a custom query, but custom queries are still just another presentation layer on top of the document types. You're going to go ahead and enter some keyword values. Maybe you're going to use some date ranges. For those people that are a little bit more savvy, you might actually search within the notes, but really, you're using those keywords and the date ranges to find the documents. The key takeaway here is that you need to have a keyword value in order to find that document. So that means when somebody first put that document into the system, they would have had to index that to the correct document type and to the appropriate keywords, so that sometime in the future you can find that document based upon that keyword value. And that works quite well in many, many scenarios. But what happens, excuse me, when you can't find your document by the keyword? And that could be due to a number of different reasons. When you first set up your system, you might not have identified the appropriate ways years later that users might want to go ahead and find this document. So the criteria changes as time goes by. God forbid, somebody might have actually indexed a document incorrectly, might have added an additional keystroke, they might have just fat-fingered something, or they truly did index that document to the incorrect document type. Those could be a couple problems that you might exist today. Or maybe you perform a search, and that search is pretty broad. It returns back a large list of documents, and to actually find the document that you're looking for based upon that search criteria, again the keywords, it's going to take some time to look at each and every document to identify the document specifically that you're looking for. Or maybe you've retrieved a 100-page document, for example, and you're looking for something very specific inside that document. Natively in OnBase, you're going to have to take a look through all of those different pages to actually find what you're looking for. And all of this is going to take some time. Time is money. I can pretty much tell you, you're probably going to find that document, but it's going to take a lot of effort, and we all realize that the more effort that goes into it, the more costs that are being incurred for your organization. And then just multiply that by dozens, if not hundreds of documents a day that you have to do something like this for. So, full text search, what is it? Excuse me. Full text search is just an add-on to your existing OnBase solution that provides for a simple, unified search. It's an interface fully integrated with the rest of the OnBase product that allows you now to retrieve documents based upon the textual information that's stored inside of OnBase. Or in other words, now you're able to look at the text inside of the documents regardless of how the document was initially indexed. You could have had a single index, a single keyword for your documents, but with full text search, now you can find that document based upon any single word that's stuck inside that document, again, regardless of how it's actually indexed. So now you're really searching upon the unstructured data inside of OnBase. And just to compare and contrast, when I'm saying structured data, I'm really talking about your keywords. Again, there was a lot of thought put into putting your system together initially, saying, how are we going to need to find these documents in the future? Let's create keywords for this. Again, that works great in many scenarios, but again, when things change over time or really something happens that that document was indexed improperly, now you need to actually be able to find that document based upon the unstructured content or what's actually inside that document, the specific words that appear on that captured image or within that Word document or inside the e-form that you might have had. So this allows you to combine not only the power of that text search, but also now the keywords that you have. You can use the two together to more quickly locate the documents and the content that you're looking for. So let's just use one high-level example. I like to use this one where maybe you're doing some recruitment. You are looking for a software developer. Well, let's start from the left. Maybe inside your resume document type, you have 40,000 documents. Obviously, without any keywords, you'd have to walk through all 40,000 of those documents and try to identify them. Keywords are great. It allows us, based upon the position applied keyword and potentially a date range, so using the last 3 months, let's take a look at recent candidates. Can I find my software developer that I'm looking for? Great. That filtered our 40,000 hits down to our 500 people that applied for the software developer position. But now I still have a problem. We all realize there's many different types of developers out there in the world. Are they mainframe? Do they use C#? C++, so on and so forth. What specifically are we looking for? And that's where the full text search comes in. Maybe we're looking for somebody that does mobile app development. So if I type in mobile app with an asterisk inside the full text search, now I'm down to 15 candidates. Again, filtering down to more quickly get to the documents that I'm looking for, saving time and money. Now let's extrapolate this a little bit further. Maybe we're specifically looking for them to develop something on the Apple platform or specifically for their iOS. I can now combine my keyword search, my software developer, along with my date range with multiple criteria for that full text search to be able to very quickly identify the best candidate. Maybe there's only one candidate that has that iOS Apple development experience on mobile apps. Again, you can find those documents natively within OnBase, but it takes a lot more time to look through those documents and let your brain make that determination. This is going to get you more quickly to the document that you're looking for. So I suppose if I could see a show of hands on this webinar, does anybody use Google? I would assume that everybody's hand is probably going up in the air. Well, think about Google. Did anybody ever get any formalized training on Google? Probably not. I'm assuming you just went to google.com and started typing a search phrase. That's the beauty of Google. It's very simplified. It doesn't take a lot of effort on the user's perspective to be able to learn things. You type in what you're searching for, hit enter, boom. There's my content. Sometimes, albeit a lot of content to look through, but it's getting you to the web pages that you're searching for. We can take this nice Google-esque look and feel and bring it into the OnBase world or this just happens to be one view of what an OnBase full text search could look like, incorporated with a custom query where it looks very Google-esque. Just enter your search text and off you go. But we can also embed more advanced search capabilities where, again, within the single custom query, we can search for any of the other keywords that might be related to the HR documents, in this case, the employee name, ID, applicant ID, date range, so on and so forth, again, to further limit our search. So it's very easy to deploy this to users. You're not really training them on anything additional besides saying, hey, look it, you now have a full text search that's available to you. Excuse me. So let's just take a look at a few different examples and what the interface actually looks like, and I'll follow this up with a very quick demo later. Again, we can search for any specific text. Maybe I'm looking for a sales candidate, so I can type in sales within my search text. And by the way, that little question mark that appears to the right of the search text, that's always interactive help anywhere that you have full text search enabled. You hover over that question mark and it gives us some of the different options for using the full text search. If you're looking for a specific phrase, you can actually encapsulate that within double quotes. It's going to find only exactly what you search for. You can use Boolean operators here, this term and this term, or this term and not this term in being involved within this particular document. Soundex searches, so other words that might sound similar to what you're searching for. Fuzzy searches, okay, let's accommodate for maybe some OCR issues. Two words near each other. So sometimes it's important to know within context, within this sentence, within 3 or 4 words of each other, these two words exist, as well as a thesaurus search. Find those other words that now match that are similar based upon a thesaurus that can be put into the system to, again, quickly find those documents. So as I go ahead and perform this search for sales, I could just click my search. Typically, in your OnBase world, when you execute a custom query, you can go ahead and say, here's the different columns to return, and that's pretty much what we're seeing from the icon on the left all the way to the applicant ID column, pretty much in the middle there. But when we incorporate the full text search into things, we also add a score, a file type, and a summary. And just to blow that up a little bit, when these results come back, think of all the different variability inside the documents. We can go ahead and rank the order that we want these documents to be displayed based upon a score that the full text search comes back with. 96.83% is going to be higher than 79.67% that we see a little bit further down. So that's going to be identified as your first best candidate based upon your search criteria. But you can also see the file type, whether it's a text report format, whether it's a PDF, whether it's a Word document. That'll be highlighted so that you know when you open that document up maybe what the experience might be like, as well as now excuse me, a snippet from that document where it found, in this case, sales inside the text. So again, you can more quickly identify specifically what you want to look at. Now when you actually open up that document, the nice thing with full text search, dependent upon the file type that's being opened, we can hit highlight where we found that text string that we searched for. We can see sales is noted multiple times there on the first page here. There is this full text navigation bar that hovers over the document where you can go to from left to right. The first page that has a hit, the prior page that has a hit, the next page that has a hit, or the last page that has a hit based upon the hit highlighting that we're displaying here. That last one with the green arrow pointing to the left would allow us to open up the native rendition of the document. So without the hit highlighting, regardless of what the file type is, it would actually open up that document, which may be a better viewing experience for you. So that gives you lots of different opportunities for how you work with those documents. Now, the prior screen that I showed you before was within a custom query. This full text search, once it's enabled, can appear natively inside your document retrieval. And we're seeing this within the Unity client here, so highlighting the lower left there, you see the full text search pane that appears just beneath your keywords, where I've performed a search for sales and using that thesaurus, finding the word car, and again my hit results now appear in the upper right side. Things are formatted just a little bit differently because remember, a native document retrieval, we can't really configure what columns come back. We just get the auto name string for the document that appears, but you see that score, the file type, as well as the summary of the text that was found within that search appearing directly within my hit list. And again, now based upon this particular case, again I use that thesaurus search looking for car and sales. Automobile would come up, vehicle would come up, car would come up, so on and so forth based upon how the thesaurus is configured. Now, full text search works on all of your different OnBase clients. Thick client, Unity client, as well as the web client. So regardless of how you're deployed today, there's really no requirement for a specific client. All will work, but notice underneath the OnBase logo in the middle, excuse me for one moment, I'm battling the remnants of a cold, so hopefully that will be minimized for the rest of the presentation. All of the other OnBase integrations for third-party products such as Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, all of those integrations utilize the Unity client look and feel. So this full text search is fully now visible within any of your native OnBase clients, as well as the integrations for Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, so on and so forth. So it's really, really flexible from that perspective. Here, just to show you, this is Microsoft Outlook. Within Outlook, if I perform that custom query as we talked about before, there's the same search that we saw. Again, very, very flexible, would appear in many different areas. And the next logical question is that comes up saying, what will this full text search work with? I've been focusing so far on saying that your scan documents, when we scan them into the system, we can run them through a batch OCR process to create a text rendition of that image document. That text rendition typically is not viewable, but that's what goes into the full text search, and that's how we're finding these specific words that appear on these documents. But that's beyond text. We have PDFs, we have Microsoft Office documents, so Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook messages can go in there. DWGs, so if you actually have words on some of your CAD drawings that your organization might have, it'll work on that. OnBase forms, so think of all the text that appears within your Unity forms or HTML forms that you have stored within the system. That can be categorized also and stored within that full text search library. So that's all searchable XML data. These are really the high level ones that we see most often. There are a number of additional file types that full text search will work on. So this is probably a really good point for me to just to pop in really quickly into a demonstration here. Now, as I mentioned before, this is not dependent upon any specific module or any specific integration. So I'm actually going to go ahead and perform the search from Microsoft Word. So those people that are familiar with the Office Business application, there's an OnBase plugin that comes into Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and I can retrieve documents natively from the toolbar here inside the interface. Let me just do this native document search. I'll expand the screen just so we can see it a little bit better, where I can go ahead and select any specific document type that I want. Let me just come down and grab my resumes. Oops, just skipped past it. And again, I could perform any search based upon any keywords that I have, but my search text appears down in the bottom here. So let me go ahead and search for, similar to what we saw before, sales, and I'm going to use that thesaurus for the word car. I want to find both the instances in there. And there's that hover over help that I mentioned before. There's that question mark that appears next to the search text. So that's exactly what we saw before in the screenshot. Again, that's always available for your users anytime that they hover over that to be able to find that. We click find. It went out and gave me a 94 ranking for John Mallory's resume. It's an image file format, and here I can see the first occurrence of sales. Again, if I had many more documents in the system, I'd probably see many more hits here. Excuse me. But now for me to actually double click on that document, it's retrieving that document, but remember, it's an image document. It's running that document through a quick OCR process to match up what we had within a text rendition of that document with the image so that I can get this hit highlighting saying anytime I see sales or again any thesaurus word for car, highlight it. Automobile sales, vehicle sales. I don't know what else I have within this document, but you can see auto popped in later. I'm guessing if car was in here, that would actually appear. There it is. Again, with my options, I'm just hovering over previous page with the hit, given I have a single page document, first page with the hit. Or if I want to just now say, give me this native document, show it the original, I just click on that. This is going to bring back the original image document. And again, full OnBase capabilities, view the keywords, view the cross-references, view the history. I want to send this to somebody via email, so on and so forth. So again, very simple for anybody to use and very, very powerful to get us directly to the document that we're looking for. All right. So everybody on this GoToWebinar should have OnBase. So I like to talk about some of the components that are needed to actually install this and configure the solution. So this is a great one because there is a server-side component to this. And I'm not going to get into all the details here, but we are going to have to allocate at least a virtual machine or a physical machine for this full text search server because there is a server component to this. There's a data capture server that needs to run. That can all be on the single server, but this is where we're going to be housing the collections. It's effectively the database of the full text information so that when people use this, you can very quickly find the documents that we're looking for. The configuration now comes back to the document type. You can pick and choose which specific document types that you want to go into a collection or any of multiple collections. You can, just like your disk groups, you can segregate this, say, don't commingle our HR documents with our legal documents, for example. So we can set up multiple configurations, but we need to then say which document types go to which particular collection. Or really, maybe there's really no need to have a specific document type go into a collection, so we can configure that also. For day forward scanning, we need to set up our scan queues to utilize this batch OCR. Because remember, when you scan something, it's just a picture. Your eyes are interpreting the specific words on it, but the computer system really knows no different than it's just a picture. So we need to run those documents through a batch OCR process that then's going to take that text rendition and add it to the configured collection for our document types. If you wanted to utilize custom queries, we're going to need to configure a custom query for full text search. It's just a simple option within there. We might want to have an HTML form to make it look really nice, like what I had for that OnBase search. But again, it's not really difficult to set all this up. But by performing all these steps, we're ready for day forward archiving of our content into that full text search library. Day forward is the key here. So that poses the question, what do we do with our existing content? There are tools built into the system that allow us to selectively choose our historical information, what needs to go into these full text libraries, these catalogs. There's a migration tool that's available that allows us to choose by document type and or date range. Say, take these documents and now go ahead and process them into the full text search catalog. So think, if you've been using OnBase for 10 years and you have a lot of content that's already been stored in the system without full text search, it might take a little while to actually get this into the full text search piece. So we could maybe go through the steps of saying, let's do this document type, maybe by date range, because I don't want this running, this full text search archival piece during normal daytime hours. I don't want to risk that my users are going to be affected by this. So we could actually run this process for this backfile content to go in off hours and do it in smaller chunks so that we can make sure that we don't continue over during normal processing times. Any of our image file types need to go through that batch OCR process. Again, that can happen relatively automatically, but we have processes for doing this. It could be a lengthy process, but we can train your staff on how to do this. Once we put full text search in place, you can go ahead and manage that going forward in the future. So let's talk about costs really quick. Pardon me. There's two components to this. There's a full text indexing server for Autonomy IDOL. There we go, back to the product name again. That's a $10,000 module. That enables the search for the enterprise. You only need to purchase that once, and again, as many collections, as many document types as we want can be thrown at that particular server. And then there are concurrent as well as named or workstation full text clients that are available. You need to figure out what makes the most sense. $300 for a concurrent, $150 for a named user or a workstation. Now, you do not need to have one for every single OnBase user that you have. Think just like anything else, like workflow. When you're in the system, you might not be using the full text search all of the time. So you have to determine what percentage of our users actually do I need to obtain these full text search client licenses for. But that's really what the pricing is. And that does include that batch OCR license. That's a nice piece to this also. So that day forward, we don't have to worry about that. That's a recent change inside the OnBase world that's included. So why should you consider this? So we're really looking at reducing our search time. You want to find that desired document very quickly or find what you're looking for specifically inside that document. We could potentially minimize our indexing requirements by using this also. All of this takes time and all of it takes money. So let me fly through just a couple graphicals here that say, for example, today, your current situation without full text search. An hour per week is being spent by each of your employees to find documents inside of OnBase. $15 per employee. Maybe there's 20 employees that utilize OnBase, so you really just do some quick numbers on that and say we spend about $300 per week finding these documents inside of OnBase because they're not indexed to the level that we want. Let's extrapolate that now to an annual basis, $15,000 per year. Now compare that and say maybe full text search allows us to take that hour of searching with the full flexibility and capabilities of full text search. We can do that within 5 minutes. So comparison, before full text indexing on the left side, after full text search on the right side. We can see the cost spent each year goes directly down from $15,000 to about $1,300. You add the licensing for 10 concurrent IDOL licenses in the server piece to this, and you can very quickly see that your return on investment is very, very short. It pays for itself in the first year. But now if you could even take that to the next level and say, let's not index to the same level that we are now. You might have many heavy-duty indexing document types. If you got 20 keywords and it costs 5 cents per keyword, and 1,000 documents per week that you're putting into the system, again, extrapolating that on an annual basis, it costs you $52,000 per year to index those documents for those 20 keywords. But what if we could reduce the keywords to 10? Because full text search could perform what we're looking for. There's our cost comparison, $52,000 per year versus $26,000, and again, factoring in the costs with things, now you're talking about 9 months for return on investment to go ahead and implement full text search. That much more beneficial for your organization because you're finding the content that quickly. So just wrapping things up here, how do you get it? Get it? Contact your Navient account executive. I put this link up here. For those people that are not on OnBase communities yet, I would strongly suggest it. If you are an OnBase customer, you can register for a free account at onbase.com/community. And there's product pages there, and one of them is called Full Text Indexing Server for Autonomy IDOL. It's a product page. So you can go ahead and view much more information on the OnBase community that gives you many, many details and potentially some additional information to take back to your management team. So with that, I'll leave that up, and I see that there is at least one question that popped up here. Ed asks, do I need Unity Client to build the nice interface you're showing, or can this be presented to the web client too? This can be presented directly through the web client. We don't need to have the Unity Client here. Nothing relies upon the Unity Client, so that nice user interface is really a custom query. And that custom query, frankly, is an HTML form, which isn't quite as nice as Unity forms, but still gives you the flexibility that we can plug that in, and that would work with any of your OnBase clients, thick, web, or Unity Client, or any of the integrations that we talked about. So with that, we're right at 10:30. Thank you for taking the time. I truly appreciate everybody joining me today. Let me close that down, make sure I can move on to the next one. And again, our heartfelt thank you for attending. If there are any additional questions, I will stick around for a few more minutes. I think most everybody knows how to contact me in general, but again, reach out to your account executive if this is something that you're interested in. And with that, I wish you all a fabulous day. Take care.